What's good? My name is Charity Croft. Have you ever been called unprofessional for wearing your hair the way it naturally grows out of your scalp? Is your race accused of being terrorists for wearing scarves on their heads? Have you been stereotyped as a thug, terrorist, gang member, ghetto, lawn mowing guy, rapper, or immigrant for no reason at all when you were just like, standing there? Well, if you said no to most or all of those questions, then you, my friend, have what is called white privilege. White privilege. Yes, Jacob, white privilege. He sings well. That's all the black privilege we get. Oh, and also he plays basketball. It all started with a basketball, y'all. But we're not talking about rapping, dancing, singing black privilege. We're talking about world-dominating, culturally appropriating, ruling almost every nation white privilege. Now, what entire nation is white privilege? I worked for everything I ever got. I tell you what.
I'm sure you did, Mr. or Mrs. White Privilege, but your skin made it way easier. White privilege means no one questions why you got into that really great school or how you got that really great job. It's just assumed that you're highly qualified.
White privilege is living in a country in which 87% of the lawmakers look like you, despite the fact that your race makes up nowhere near 87% of the country.
White privilege is Googling the word beauty and it's showing hundreds of pictures of white women.
White privilege is Googling the word God and it's showing hundreds of pictures of white men.
White privilege means you don't have to worry about being monitored in the store because you look like you steal stuff.
White privilege is being 6 times less likely to be arrested than black people.
White privilege is your history being taught as a part of the core curriculum and mine being offered as an elective.
White privilege is reading a history book that doesn't start off with you being a slave or a barbaric savage.
White privilege is being able to teach history only from the perspective of the colonizer.
Speaking of colonization, white privilege is being able to get lost at sea thinking you're going to India, end up somewhere else that already had millions of people and still be credited as discovering the country. In fact, white privilege is when anything that you didn't know about is a new discovery as soon as you notice it.
White privilege means the ability to protest racism, ask for equality, and not be considered a hate group. White privilege is also having a hate group like the KKK be listed as a non-violent Christian organization and not have the rest of your race be labeled as terrorists.
White privilege is not having your application thrown out because your name is weird. In fact, white privilege is when anything that's not regular or common to your race is weird.
White privilege is being able to walk into a church, kill 8 people, then be walked out by police and taken to Burger King.
White privilege is not having the celebration of your entire race's contributions to the world relegated to just 1 month because we talk about the cool stuff your ancestors did every month.
White privilege means you want to be told to go back to your country.
White privilege is being able to come to a country and literally massacre 90% of the indigenous people and then enslave the other 10% and then say it is your God-given manifest destiny to shine from sea to shining sea. So you continue to slaughter the whole country and then give it your own name and your own laws, and yet you are never called a terrorist or a warmongering murderer or a psychopath, but instead you get your face literally carved on the side of the very mountains in which you stole, and thereby glorified forever as not a deranged killer, but a founding father who did something courageous and beautiful.
But how can we move forward if we dwell on the past? Plus, I mean, there were white slaves in America too, right?
Little nigga, no, it was not.
Well, not quite, but there were indentured servants. And in the slave codes of 1705, especially in the act concerning servants and slaves, colonial rulers so graciously awarded the poor whites certain legislated privileges.
In fact, Chet, tell them what they won.
A small plot of land, wages after their sentence was over, the right to sue masters in court, and exemption from public whipping for punishment. While at the same time, the legislator wrote down the laws which provided the institutionalized foundations for chattel slavery for Africans.
What's in the chattel slavery package, Chet?
Well, all sorts of horrible things like pulling apart families, sending children, mothers, and fathers in 3 different directions, free beatings for speaking in your native tongue, casual lynchings and public beatings, rape, and many other atrocities for a couple hundred years. Ah, so bad it's almost good. Really? Of course not. From that time on throughout U.S. history, to be white, even to be poor and white, has meant to have access to certain forms of preferential treatment or privilege. Now, this is not said to make white people feel guilty about their privilege. It's not your fault you were born with white skin, and I get it. You're not your ancestors. But whether you realize it or not, you do benefit from it, and it is your fault if you do not maintain awareness of that fact.
White privilege is absolutely a thing. And being able to deny the fact that it is a thing simply because it doesn't affect you is even a further testament to its existence. Our world has been purposefully skewed in the favor of white people. And no, you aren't responsible for your ancestors' doings. However, if we do not recognize the problem, then we can never truly remedy it. The first step to enlightenment is awareness of the darkness. If we truly want to live as one, we must first create a world that is good for all. I love you. One more thing, if you want to learn everything that I talked about in this video, plus every other piece of knowledge that I have ever learned ever, then click the link in my bio and join the Genius Factory. With this quarantine, we are in the hardest moment of our entire lifetimes, and so I have created a quarantine super school. In it, I have videos about financial empowerment, overcoming anxiety and depression, finding peace, actualizing your purpose. Click the link in my bio and join the Genius Factory. Please, please, I guarantee that you will come out of this quarantine stronger than ever. See you there. I love you.